So it sounds like the NXT that we all knew and that we all loved is dead. So let's all take our hands, put them together, and hang our heads in silence for but a few seconds. Question, what the hell are we doing? This is really, really strange. But yes, all the fallout from those crazy releases that happened recently does seem to suggest that we are moving away from the concept we know now and going back to the concept we used to know, or in short, getting big people ready for Raw and SmackDown. Now, while I want to make it very clear that I never want anybody to lose their job ever, and people that clamour for such a thing are absolutely crazy, this kind of does make all the sense in the world, because if people are going to end up on the main roster, and they are going to answer to Vincent Kennedy McMahon, you may as well get a bunch of people ready that he's actually going to get behind, as opposed to what we have now, when you build someone, you send them to Monday or Friday nights, Vinny sees them and go, oh, nope, I'm not interested, and then the whole deal is dead. So we're basically going to start building WWE superstars in Vince McMahon's image, which, as we know, is no small people, and he'd rather you be over 6 feet, over 220 pounds, and not in your 30s. So that is a very specific list. It is a huge shame, though, because, again, NXT is dead. Why? Here's why. Just to drive the point home, the concept is all about a change of philosophies. I mean, Dave Meltzer on a recent Wrestling Observer Radio even said that he'd been told, again, no more small people, no one in their 30s, big people only, and we want to create a bunch of box office attractions, not unlike Roman Reigns. Now, I think that's kind of unfair to throw Roman Reigns' name in there, because I'm sorry, if you had an army of Roman Reigns in your wrestling company is probably going to do pretty well. He's pretty good. And as always, McMahon runs this business, so he's allowed to do whatever the hell he wants, but that doesn't mean we can't shed a quiet tear for everything that Triple H tried to create. So when it did start in 2014, the whole idea was to build an alternative brand to Raw and SmackDown that people who weren't into that stuff could go, hey, I can still watch WWE because there's this cool thing called NXT and it's ticking all my boxes. So in short, if you were bored of sports entertainment, you didn't have to be bored with WWE, and I think the run of takeovers are proof of that. I mean, seriously, go sit down, be a massive nerd, and go through every single one and try to find even a single pay-per-view that wasn't absolutely badass. I think you're going to be looking for a while. As we have heard throughout the years, though, and as always, let's take this with a pinch of salt, there were plenty of murmurings out there that the main roster would watch these things and go, well, it's just not fair, because they're allowed to fly free down in NXT, but we up here in the main roster, we have a very specific playbook, and if we do defer from it, someone comes in and slaps us right in the face. But what they did not realise is that this in itself was ruining the system, because you could run amok down in NXT to a certain degree, but when you were called up, you were told, no, we don't do that up here, so you better change everything you're doing, which led us, the fans, to question, well, why the hell did we do anything with them in NXT? It's now basically as if it never existed. I mean, look at the likes of Ricochet, Finn Balor, even The Revival. They were told what they were doing was not what was required. Now they're in the so-called big leagues, so they better go back to basics and change it all up, and it just made everything so damn weird. So I suppose you could say this whole third brand identity was taken too far, because once more, if NXT is there to develop superstars for Raw and SmackDown, and you're not developing superstars for Raw and SmackDown, even though we, the fans, would rather these people were the superstars. But once again, my brain starts to hurt, but it goes to show these foundations were broken at the core. And this is why we did have some of those firings, because McMahon is going back to his old idea, which is new again. I mean, take Bronson Reed. Why the hell would somebody not want Bronson Reed on their talent roster, but he's not quote unquote tall, and he's like, not super duper jacked, so he's gotta go. Have we all forgotten what wrestling is? All sizes all the time. I'm not pretending this isn't bonkers, because it is, but what was the alternative? He gets put on SmackDown, and then he gets put in a feud with Dolph Ziggler, and he loses. And we go on the internet and go, meow, 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 meow. So really, it was a lose-lose situation. And just in case it sounds otherwise too, I am not using any of this as an excuse. WWE went into hoarding mode a few years ago because they were so worried about wrestlers joining AEW, but that is never the reason to hire anyone. And if you do have these people on the books, sit down with them, figure out what their strengths are, and push those. I mean, come on, realize what you do have. Like Keith Lee, someone like Keith Lee. Don't just go, oh, well, you're a WWE now, pal, so you have to be a WWE WWE big guy, let Keith Lee be Keith Lee, and I guarantee you, Keith Lee, he will shine. As we have mentioned All Elite Wrestling too, let's not pretend they didn't play their part either, because I know you don't want to admit it, NXT was moved to the USA Network, even though it was still on Wednesdays, to act as kind of a shield against anything that Dynamite was going to do. And when it became abundantly clear that Dynamite was always going to outview or outrank NXT, something had to be the scapegoat because Vince McMahon was mad, and yes, he chose NXT. I mean, what better than the secret love child that was under his brand but actually wasn't controlled by him? I mean, why do you think Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, came up to Raw and lost to Jeff Hardy? If this wasn't I don't know what is. Ow. And what this means for Triple H especially, I don't know, but I don't think we should pull our pants down and crap over his vision just because we hit a stumbling block. Sure, when it came to AEW versus NXT, he didn't succeed, but surely that's when you double down and try harder and think outside the box, not just cancel all the plans. And I know, what the hell do I know, just a bald idiot, but really this does come down to the fact that over the last few years, WWE has really struggled to come up with brand new stars. And we all know what the issues here are. 50-50 booking, stupid distraction and DQ finishes, and really no one being elevated into the main event scene apart from those who are already there. It's also true that a lot of stars they do have made their name elsewhere. I mean, when you get to born and bred NXT guys, you got Roman Reigns, obviously, Charlotte Flair, and Braun Strowman, but Braun Strowman ain't even with the company anymore. So that just makes the situation even more wavy. What does seem to have been answered is that whatever NXT is now is not what it's going to be in a very short period of time. I mean, I would guess that we get to SummerSlam, we do that takeover, and then bada bing, bada boom, it's all changed. And there's more proof to this, because Dakota Kai got called up to main event recently. What's that telephone? Not telephone, it's just my hand. She lost. Because who cares? I do think it's a huge shame though, and it does make me feel all sad and upset deep down in my tum-tum. I mean, NXT was a standout for a good old while, and with the right focus, it absolutely could have stayed there. When you are used as some kind of buffer in some kind of ridiculous war, well, something was always going to have to suffer. I've already said this and we got to the point. So NXT does take the L on this one, although we're still not done, because apparently there's more reports out there that the USA Network, that of course airs NXT, well, they don't like the sound of these changes. They don't really know what's going on. So you tell me, man, I think we are in for a crazy ride. And as ever, we'll end on a positive note because I am a positive asshole, and let's not fret what could be, and let's just enjoy the memories we have, because nobody can take those away from you unless you go into some kind of doctor surgery and they try and suck the memories out of your brain. But if that is going on, you really need to get out of there because you are not in a safe place. I mean, that's not even a real thing, so you're probably involved in some weird shit. Anyway, NXT, RRP, I always loved you, and I patiently await to see what comes next. Now, please do leave a comment below, and man, let me know about your NXT, and actually let me know about your favorite NXT memories. Therefore, if we do go through a huge shift, we've got a nice little YouTube book that we can go through. Then like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to whatculture.com to stay up to date with everything NXT. Make sure you come say hello on social media, and you're already on YouTube, take your finger, give a video a click, and see what the hell you get. My aside for What Culture, thank you for joining me as always. And I suppose we're about to get a bunch of really big men down in NXT, but no one has actually addressed what's going to happen on the female side of the equation. I can't believe you're only going to hire over 6 feet, 220 pound women, because that sounds really unfair, and also it will get boring really quick. Although that's the same for the men as well. So who knows, man? Who knows? Patience is a virtue. Doesn't even make sense. Goodbye.